Welcome to Marketing. Grab some coffee and let's talk about what's working in marketing, who these strategies are designed for, and how to be customer-centric while we do it.
Hi there, this is Leanne with Marketing. Today I'm joined with Melissa Rosenthal. She is the co-founder at Outlier and she's done so many amazing things. We are so lucky to have her. Melissa, tell me more about you and what you're working on and how you got here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. My background before Outlier was pretty deep and early in digital media. I was very early at a company called BuzzFeed. Kind of went on to build and figure out what the social network sharing model was for branded content and for social content there. And then I went to go help start a company called Cheddar, which is a live streaming media news network. And then I moved over to B2B SaaS and ran marketing at ClickUp, which is a all-in-one project management, work management solution for about 4 years. And then I find myself co-founder of a company. So I went out and decided to start my own venture based on some of the things that I've dealt with in my past and ideas I've had and things that never made sense to me. And I wanted to figure out a solution for them and build something that I wish I had as a marketer and as a business leader.
Awesome. So what is, the kind of, for people that aren't familiar, help us understand what that means. Like how do you do that with Outlier?
Yeah, I mean, Outlier is effectively the culmination of like a lot of things that I've dealt with throughout my career. And, when I was at BuzzFeed, I was very early in my career and went on to kind of understand that and, in a really interesting way that we were building credible, authoritative news engines to effectively just sell advertising. When you're in it, you're building this behemoth, and there's a mission and a goal, and you're really in it, and it's amazing, especially when you're shaping the future of something that hadn't been done before. But the reality is, the only monetization is through advertising, and you're building these voices to lend them to others. And I was always wondering, like, why companies were trying to invest in that themselves, because there's, it's so much money to advertise in a media publication, and it's just kind of like not something that you can build on organically. It's paid to play, and then you're done. So I always just kind of have this thought in the back of my head that companies should come in and be able to own their own narratives and not have to like buy them or buy space. And then moving over to ClickUp, we grew really fast at a really healthy marketing budget. But the really interesting thing there was just how big our TAM was, because we were selling into companies of 1 to thousands across every single ICP and role you can imagine. And at the end of the day, even with a really healthy budget, it's just really hard to scale thoughtful narratives that can touch every ICP that you're looking to touch. And also at the pure velocity and scale that you need to be able to have those conversations all of the time and enter into the world of your ICP, even when they're not looking for your solution. So that's what we built at Outlier. Effectively, we've come up with this kind of combination of how to build companies into credible news authorities, and then also as a byproduct of that, enter into the world of their ICPs at 24/7, even when they're not looking for your solution, they're getting into their world. So it's a bit of kind of this mix of worlds colliding across digital media and what I dealt with in SaaS.
I love it. And I certainly don't mean to turn this into like a commercial for Outlier, but
Yeah.
but there's a lot to unpack there. And I think that as marketers, like we feel that very specific pain of, are you buying digital media on someone else's website? Are you now at the whims of, the bidding and the programmatic and trying to outsmart this thing that is borrowed at the end of the day? It could just shut down, and then how are you going to get to your people?
Yeah.
And are you providing them value at a place where they even want to see it?
Yeah.
Those are very specific pains that we feel.
Yeah. I mean, one piece, I'm sure you're going to expand on that thought, but the reality is, like, today, audiences are not audiences. Like, everything is very distributed, and people are not finding news by going to a website. Like, I don't believe anyone is typing in a domain. And the idea that is where the advertising is, right? Like, that you're buying programmatically on a homepage makes zero sense, because those companies can't afford to, when you think about what's actually happening, they can't afford to monetize the eyeballs that they already have because there aren't enough. So they're shutting down their fire sale to, private equity. So when you're actually buying programmatically now, what are you buying? You're buying bots. You're buying a lot of times like fraudulent views, because that's just not the way people are viewing content anymore. Outside of, I want to say sans, like I'm sure there are people typing in wallstreetjournal.com, newyorktimes.com, like, sans the major publications. No one else is typing it in a domain. That's not how news is finding people.
Yeah. And I think that that's a really big mismatch between where your ICP's water cooler is and where you're meeting them and their needs.
Mhm.
Like if you are trying to brute force it, like what's there to do? Like, is that really human centric marketing or is that like something else? I feel like I've already drinking a water hose of just pure expertise and knowledge from you. I want you to kind of, what was something that you said that you feel like we haven't expanded on? Because there was a lot of gold nuggets there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like I'm optimistic, but I'm also really cynical. And I'm optimistic about the fact that what you just said, like your ICP's water cooler exists. And they're finding information and they're talking to their networks and they're looking at things every day. But those are certainly not things that they're really, in most cases, like I believe, seeking out. I think it's finding them through the distribution that is in their purview, like immediately. So when I think about the future of distribution, I think it is so much like you have to find that person. Like the distribution has to meet them where they are, and it can't be based on them seeking out information. I think there's also this like, we're in a gold that's like, people are like, oh, the old school way of thinking about like SEO too. It's just like, let's create a ton of stuff. And like at some point they'll come across it. And I mean, obviously like traffic's sort of fallen off a cliff. I'm like very pessimistic about like what that looks like in the future. But I think it's just really trying to think about like what in the age of AI, and we use AI a little bit, actually, I mean, a significant amount, just not to do the things that human touch needs, which is like writing certain pieces of content, last touch, first touch. But what I was going to say is, I really just believe that the future is so much more hyper personalized and hyper targeted and not based on quantity of views, but quality of who is actually coming to those articles. So gone are the days like we don't care about quantity of traffic. I think that's like the least interesting thing. And I think the least sustainable thing and the least meaningful metric. But what we do care about with the content that we create and what our product does is who is coming to those articles and what are they doing after that. And they're so hyper focused, so hyper targeted onto the ICP. Like where are they finding it? How are they coming and what are they doing next? They're just way more important to us. Is it resonating with them? Are they visiting a few articles after that because the rest of the content resonates with them as well? Versus like them just like landing and just dropping off immediately. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, yeah, there is so much. I think like just distribution. I don't believe in like I also like there's so many people, this is like going on a tangent, but there's so many people that are just like now there's like a gold rush everywhere and it just feels like everyone is just jumping to the next thing. And now everyone is talking about like how to show up in LLMs and like, how to get your products featured. And I'm like, oh my God, people are like, they're just doing the same patterns over and over. So they're going to like invest all this money in trying to be featured in LLMs. They're going to have a good week. And then what's going to happen? All of these LLMs, like, there's no secret. They know that this is happening. They're excited about products and they're excited about things being featured because what they're going to do is all of a sudden put a paywall behind that and create an ad model. And then what are you going to be doing? It's just Google. Like, I just think that there's some weird naivety in terms of like, what is like a sustainable, viable way of getting real organic growth over time versus trying to, hit a gold rush and then realizing that it's just going to become pay to play probably within a couple of weeks. Like they're already rolling out ads. So I just don't see the rationale behind like building a system to do that rather than like, how do we build a sustainable way of finding distribution that's through people and not through another channel that is not your distribution and like you don't own that distribution.
I love that. I'm taking notes. All right. So there's a couple things that I want to kind of like double down on. We're gonna start with the most recent is the AI gold rush being just another channel. Absolutely. I think that one thing that you called out is that volume without engagement or match is just a vanity metric. And yes, you do have to get a certain amount of volume that's required to get the eyeballs that you're trying to get. But if you're getting 1,000 people that are the wrong people, your volume's trash. It's not a lead. It can't be.
Yeah, totally.
So like volume by itself is not a factor that is reliable. And the other part about like reliability is like, do you think that if there's the ad placement on AI LLMs, but what about the answer itself? I see a lot of marketers on LinkedIn being like, yeah, we should, try to get our thing so that the AI pulls it as part of the answer. The AI lies. It hallucinates. It tells you that your elbow needs cancer surgery. It's worse than WebMD telling you that your cold is a brain tumor. Like I don't know. I think you probably have opinions on this too.
Yeah, I don't. Everything I think about is like sustainable and not something that is like you have no control over and is changing every week. And I think that it just boiled down to that. Like, why would you ever optimize for something that is like has been changing with such like with such ferocity in a week to 2 week time span? It just doesn't really make much sense to me, especially when they're trying to replace the channel that has been over monetized, right? Like, I just don't know how people see it differently. So yeah, I mean, we are trying to build an engine that is fueled through human one-to-one, one-to-network, pure set growth. So the right people are seeing it, the right people are sharing it, and we're targeting specific companies and ICPs based on the things that they care about on a daily basis. And that's the only thing that I believe can ever actually like outlast some of the changes that are happening, because we're not dependent on LLMs. Our content is surfacing there because we're sharing we're focused on building out first person perspectives on topics, and that's what Google and what these LLMs are actually favoring. So I'm like, it's great because like right now we're on the right side of history. I'm just not like I'm not singing the praises of that being the main benefit of what we do and like where I think the future is, because I don't know, and I would never put my eggs in all of that in that basket. Like when I'm on calls with potential customers, I tell them that it's a nice byproduct, but we don't know exactly where it's going. And we're on the right side of history because I do believe that the human perspective is the one thing that that AI can't replace, and that is going to be that is going to have the spotlight moving forward. Like I am bullish on that. But I don't know how the answers of like how that's going to roll out and like what, so I'm not saying we're a guaranteed foolproof way of bypassing that. I'm just saying, I think historically, when you are focused on the news and real-time events and you're updating content daily and it's focused on the right perspectives and it's doing the one thing that AI can't replace, we're in a good spot. I think like have you heard of dead internet?
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, there becomes a point in time when everything is just a regurgitated version of itself. The one thing that'll stand out are the opinions and insights from the people that are directly from their mouth. That isn't regurgitated. It's the only net new information coming in. So, models tend to favor that because they can grow off of that and use that. So, I am bullish on it. I just don't it's changing so rapidly that it's hard to know.
Yeah. And I think that, like, to your point, is that it's up to us as professionals to also protect our information diet so that we aren't becoming dead internet like parents.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really easy to do too. Like, I'm sure you've dealt, like, I'll read something and, my husband will be like, what are you like? I'll read the AI summary, right? Like I'm going to that and he's like, what? Like you realize what you just read? And I'm like, oh, that makes no sense. It's like, it is hallucinating, but it's hallucinating of already bad data. It's like bad data in, bad data out, right? So that's the problem. Like we're already, I think, at this weird, interesting saturation phase where it's not it's not like we've exhausted the data that some of it's being trained off of, and we're seeing the result of that within the hallucinations of what it's coming up with and what it's referencing. Because when you look at some of the reference points, it's garbage. It's like actual garbage. Like when we're looking at news publications, like our job is like, are there competition within certain trade publications, because we're trying to make companies trade publications. And what we're finding is there's net new trade publications, but they're just regurgitation of other trade publications. So if those are being categorized in sources new, think about now you're just getting like a carbon copy of a copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, like 10 rungs down of what the original source was. So it's already happening, which is kind of wild.
I mean, I would almost argue that like it's just another syndication thing, like, you know, like that we've had for years.
It's just not being
different
treated.
level.
It's not being treated that way. It's being treated as like actual information, not like a syndication. So when you look at the ladder of where that content is, yeah, you're right. Like when you think about it, like in like practical terms, it is just syndication, but no one's looking at it as syndication. They're looking at it as like an actual sort, like real true source of like net source of new information.
Yeah. And I think what's wild is that people that also like, I spend too much time on social media. It's a thing. I'm working on it. But one of the things that is happening on social media that has gotten progressively worse is that people will take the same hook and content and they'll just do it themselves. They'll just repeat it. So you'll have like 100 content creators doing the same piece of content completely this like just scripted. And so I think where we're lacking is original thought. But to your point about like the human part of this and what's sustainable is addressing the human, the humanity, the human thought, the human need, the value.
I mean, what you're saying, like, I'm like scared for where that's headed, because there's companies like there's a new one, an AI company called Icon, and you can effectively create 100 variations of one ad and test all of those variations, right? Like, seems great because in marketing, when I've run teams, like we have an entire like 2 people dedicated to versioning, which is expensive. It takes time. So now that there's a platform to do it, awesome. But now that you're taking away the barrier for entry for that, and the democratization of it is so broad and sweeping, all of a sudden you have every single company that is now going to be running the same exact ad. So where is the differentiation in any of that, especially like as that grows, then you're just increasing saturation. And I think like we're going to deal with a weird time where everything is like just a carbon copy to like, we don't even know what extent, where you're just seeing variations by the same exact company of the same ad in your feed. I mean, we're already seeing that across the board with like a bunch of other things, but like, I see that happening with just like advertising in general. Maybe with like, you know, VO3 and like all these other really cool like AI tools, people will be imaginative and continue creativity. But some of the tools that make the barrier to entry easier are the ones that are saturating everything, which is also the way that I feel about outbound. And I always like to go back to this analogy, which is like the death of digital media is exactly the same as the death of outbound, in which we were at BuzzFeed and other companies in the digital space, like all reliant on the traffic and on the content to live on the rails of Facebook and Twitter and all of the social platforms that promised that they would promote it because it was, you know, a great way to get people into their platforms and to and for social and all of that. And what ended up happening is like they said, no, we don't really want to go down that route. We want to have people sharing you know, their family photos and X, Y, and Z, and becoming, you know, more, having it be more close knit, and content's getting in the way of that. And they stripped that overnight. And like that's the same thing that is happening with email. Like no one owns email. Like email is just a channel. It's a channel like Facebook and all the platforms were in digital. And when you don't own the rails, you're going to get screwed. So it happened before. That's why digital media died. That's why all those companies collapsed, because overnight their traffic is gone. Same thing with email, same thing with outbound. So I just can't believe that like we're continuing with outbound to pollute the waters with just like we're going to kill that channel. Like all these companies are just helping that happen in a faster way.
That is a special pain, but that is a special pain that I think a lot of us feel. And it's not that it was impossible before. It's that and we saw this happen with NFTs to even go further back to a parallel that I don't think people realize that the way that many people did versioning for NFTs was to run a very easy Python script that you can interact with the different layers in Adobe. So you would write a script and it would be like, okay, put out one pink, blue, blah, 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 blah. And so there's a gorilla with a different color background or a different nose or different hair. And so when we do that with ads, we aren't asking, does the customer care at all if the background is blue or dark blue? It's splitting hairs. And is that a meaningful use of our ad spend? Is that a worthwhile cause to be testing for? Is the hypothesis, does it even exist? Or is it just bull? Are we just making up things to do for the sake of doing them? And so when we over automate things like outbound, how many versions of the same ad and how frequently are we showing it to people? We miss the plot.
Yeah. I think we're all missing the plot because we just we do this over and over, I think the most interesting thing is that everything is just cyclical and everyone thinks that everything is different until it just follows the same pattern. And I think that what I've always tried to do is pattern disruption and get out of what everyone else is doing. When you say guys zag, and that's what I'm doing here. I think AI is amazing. We utilize it a lot internally, but we don't do the things that we think make humans valuable. That's the one thing that we're not going to try to replicate. And, I think that that's the future. It's when everything is AI, what's the one thing that is differentiated? And it's people, a human perspective. So yeah, I think I've always just tried to be looking at everyone else as why are they all doing the same thing? This is a race to the bottom. And how do I think about things a little bit differently?
So we've heard a lot of stories from you or examples and anecdotes about the race to the bottom and different ways where we just absolutely need to do it differently. Is there ever a situation where someone kind of maybe isn't ready to do things differently? If they have way too small of an audience, let's say they are fresh out the gates, just have a concept and they're just getting started. Is it too early for them to try to zag when everyone's zigging?
Well, today, I think if they don't do something, they're screwed. I think it's actually almost impossible for new entrants into market at this time to outpace any competition, because what's happening is that even giant enterprise companies are all pivoting to AI now. They're all becoming AI native, AI first. And even if their current models aren't working, what do they have? They're very, very well capitalized and they have existing revenue and they can buy companies overnight. Look at Grammarly. Overnight, Grammarly became a docs email company. They bought Superhuman and they bought Coda, and they've just basically transformed their business within 2 weeks. So to think that any company that is not well capitalized can come into this market and command a ton of market share without doing something differently is I think lunacy. I think that there are companies that obviously are capitalizing on a really unique way, the vibe coding tools like Cursor and Replit. But I think the reality is there's a handful of those and that's it. And when we look to the handful and the exception to the rule of the barometer of what's happening in market, that's when it becomes dangerous. So it's not a great answer because I don't know. If I think about myself, and I would never want to start a company today that is either trying to compete in AI or is trying to that is PLG in the old days of SaaS. None of those things seem to make sense to me anymore, which makes me think that the only thing is the thing that I know what I'm doing with now. Every other company is pivoting and the net new companies are capitalizing on a trend where they can grow faster than anything. And everyone else is going to get left in the dust. And I think we're going to see the collapse of a lot of pre-2023 unicorn startups where they either sell or they go out of business. Things aren't going to work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really flipped GTM, honestly. There's no way it wasn't going to, but I just don't think that people, it's so fun because it's like, oh, no one knows what it's going to do. Well, we didn't know it was going to do that. But I think that if you took a step back, you might have seen some signals. Do you think that, I mean, there's these larger like legacy brands, right? That have had down years, down quarters. It's been a struggle for them. And a lot of them have started to adopt AI. Do you think that something like taking a couple steps into the direction of a long-term, more sustainable, like more owned, like content, organic content strategy, like you're talking about, do you think that it's too late for them?
I mean, if the business isn't working in general and it's not finding fit in market, I don't think content is going to save them. I think content is an amazing accelerator when things are working and your positioning is right and you just need to get in front of the right eyeballs because like you have your fit. I don't think content is a savior because it's too saturated to be that, but it certainly is an accelerator with the right company. Like we've stopped working with smaller companies because we're just like, this isn't gonna really, we want to see like be the accelerant. And we are for companies that have product market fit that are really like having traction or finding their way in the new world. Like we're great for them. But like if you're a seed company, like we're not for you. I think that's fine. I mean, we wanted to, dominate and be able to work with everyone and all of these great things starting out. Like, I think we're just realizing that like there's a couple like there's a lot of opportunity, but it's not for everyone. Unfortunately, like opportunity isn't as even as it once was. And when you say go to market, like I don't even know what I don't think go to market works anymore the way that it did. Like, I don't know what even go to market, like, I feel crazy saying this, but like, what does go to market mean in 2025? Like, it's nothing that it meant historically. And yeah, I mean, it's just like the world is very different,
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that we can rely on is the volatility and the ever changing nature of it. Mm-hmm. And that's why you do have to like go back to basics. Like you have to be aware and find the people, like actually the people. And so, yeah, I mean, I like that you called out the seed stage companies because if someone is telling a seed stage company that the very top priority for them before they have product market fit is all organic content, I'm curious what that leaves for resource wise for some of the other levers that might be more impactful. I mean, that's just me thinking out loud.
I mean, I think like, I mean, I guess it's a little bit dependent on just how you're thinking about the approach to begin with. Like, I mean, we're like, I think we like to come in and see like where companies are already pulling other levers. And the interesting thing about what we've seen is that like there isn't, I think when we first came into market, I was expecting like, I've been at ClickUp, I've kind of did my thing and I saw like the world in which we operated. And it was just very interesting to me that like no one else is like saying anything unique about anything anymore, which is wild to me. Like there's no like I haven't heard one new way of people thinking about marketing. Like there's nothing new. Like it's just really, really bizarre.
It's like doing a bicep curl at the gym. You just if I would love to come up with a new way to work your biceps, but like I just can't. I mean, like you can do like other exercises that still flex it.
Yeah,
but like there's only so many options with the way that the construct exists.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe that there wasn't more that I was missing. And when anyone had said something, it's like, oh well, I did that, but I wouldn't do it again either. Like it's something that worked 5 years ago. That doesn't work today. But I always am just shocked that there's just nothing new, which is kind of what we wanted to create, something that was just new, different way of thinking about things.
Yeah. And I'm excited about it. I want us to do new things. Yeah. I mean, I think we're all hungry for new things.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, marketing is wild. I've been in marketing officially for like 8 years, and it's not it's changed, but it's you got to say the right thing to the right people at the right time so they like, know, and trust you. If you can't do those fundamentals, then
Yeah, but you're doing that now with how many other companies that are doing the same exact thing? I mean, like,
for sure.
companies are mostly today, like, there's such little product differentiation that they're all just competing on price.
Yeah,
So it's a little, yeah. I mean, how do you compete when the only thing that's differentiating you is price?
not well, not well. Um, awesome. So where do you think the future is going then? Like how do you think we get there? Do you think where it's heading is where it should go?
I mean, I just think it's going to collapse and rebuild. I don't know exactly where the future of marketing is headed. I think a lot of it will be we're going to automate the things that can be automated until it's just like been saturated and everyone has automated the right same things, and like then we're in a weird part there. But I think companies are going to be like, we should automate 90% of our marketing. They're going to realize that the channels are completely saturated, that there's not standing out as much, and that nothing is happening. So while they think they're getting more efficient and they're able to market more efficiently, that's going to come to a hard stop when everyone is doing the same things. I think again, like just the existing channels are saturated and there's not net new channels. There's not net new ways. So it's going to just be about like being bigger and louder and more and well capitalized, or just thinking about things differently. That's the only way I can see forward. Doing things that are more unconventional, reaching people in creative ways, being big and loud, spending a lot of money, buying billboards, like literally like I'm thinking about the one things that like the channels that can't really be saturated. And it's like when you're sitting in traffic and you're staring up at something and a message that resonates or makes you curious, right? Like I think about the channels that are just the most human. And I think those are the future. I think events are amazing. I love events because there's nothing that can replicate them. There's nothing that can replicate being at a 15-person intimate dinner with your prospective buyers talking about the future of stuff and their hopes and their dreams and their fears. And that's what we do. But we're trying to productize the combination of journalism and the insights that all of these people have that are trapped value in their minds that are just golden nuggets for everyone else. And I think people are where I'm placing my bet, because I think they're the one thing that I like don't see how like that won't be saturated. But I think everything else is just is poised for saturation within the next year. So I don't know where everything else heads. I just know where we head. And it's in the opposite direction that most of the ships are sailing.
Yeah, and I really like that call to like the small intimate dinners where you can actually make like a personal impact. And I think that like, people's networks and the like kind of the whisper networks, I think are
Yes.
going to be like a really they already
100%.
are. They already
Yeah.
are. Period.
Because when you're and that's a great point. Like when there's overstimulation and you're oversaturated with information, right? Think about how much you consume, how much you interact with. What do you go back to? It's you're going to ping your friend and be like, hey, what are you using for your project management software? And that person is going to tell you either what they've used or what's top of mind for them. And that's it. But I think it's like we've gotten to the stage where like things aren't resonating anymore because it has to be immediately what's in front of them, or something that's so top of mind, or something that they've had such a great experience with that they're going to give a referral to it. But outside of that, like, I don't know. I don't retain information like I once retained information. My brain is flooded with a million things that I'm interacting with every day, especially because we're covering the news. My brain is just like flooded. But I recall things at different points in time based on things that people ask me. So I do think that that's going to become even more prevalent, where the whisper network and the referral network becomes even stronger because people are just so inundated with information that they can't decipher or disseminate between anything, between two products, between two messages, between the different companies. I mean, everyone is an agentic AI solution now. So they're all using the same language, and I can't tell you what 90% of them do. So how is that company ever like, I don't understand. People don't, the consumer doesn't understand what they do or what they do differently than the 20 other companies doing the same thing, using the same messaging. Like it's mind blowing to me that some of these companies are like, yeah, like this is the language we're going with. And I'm just like, did you test that? Like, what is the logic there? I mean, it seems like actual lunacy to me when I'm looking at it, like from an outside perspective. But I don't know. We'll see, right?
I mean, in a world full of copycats, being original, but even being weird, even being weird is now not weird anymore. Like there's so many things that we're like, oh, we're the quirky mascot. Okay, well there's 10. There's 10 quirky mascots. I can tell you how many octopuses are in my in my LinkedIn feed. So I think that there's a a craving for something new and unique. And I think you're right. And, it's just going to be like who can demonstrate the value the fastest and who do we trust among other people? Because brand is the manifestation of each individual interaction of the promise that the company makes. And so, like, if your operations F's it up for you.
Yeah. I mean, there's a company, I'll them out by name, but like we use them for like a lot of like crucial things, and they have a great brand, they have great branding, they are like the superstar of their industry, and they like literally like made a couple changes in the past few days that like beyond headache, beyond like, I can't believe they did this. And I'm like, I want to move off of them immediately. And I could never recommend them to anyone else because I can't believe what they just did. And like, that's like, I don't care how much money you have. You do that to enough people and like, you're out of business. So I totally agree with you. I think it's like, first of all, you gotta like, if you have customers, you have to make them so happy. And brand is like the beginning of that, and it's the beginning and the end of brand period, is like making your customers like really thrilled about their experience like every day. But then it's the extrapolation of that. And I mean, I think maybe they're like even the referral network of people, the like whatever that is, and like what we need to tap into in a big way. I think every company needs to tap into that. Like, and it's a great way to make yourself like look really big, even if you're a small company, by really like tapping into the people using you and how they're doing it, and almost like the dog food, kind of eat your own dog food. But yeah,
no, I love it. I agree. That's one of the first things. One of the first things that I insist companies do is interview their customers and then make content out of it, because that's how I think the world should be. So feel free to steal that tip or pay me to do it. Whatever works. But the point is that, there needs to be established influence be from actual humans and value.
Yeah, totally.
So what is a question, changing gears, what is a question someone should ask you, but they don't? And the way that I frame this up is that sometimes people are like, hey, what's our Pinterest strategy? And they have no content. So like, what would they even put on Pinterest? Or maybe there's something about you and your background that you really just want people to know so they understand how you came to certain conclusions or a certain amount of expertise. Or maybe you just really want to talk about a hobby. Whatever it is, you can answer what is a question that someone should ask you, but they don't.
I don't know. I think when I'm in the conversations with people, usually it does come up, but I think like the only sometimes way that I get at like my both pessimism and optimism of like what I think really works is by like digging into like the historicals of like both a digital media company and then moving to like SaaS. And people do ask me, but like I think I don't know. I think even being in like a SaaS company or digital company, the only way to actually free your mind of not being in that position is being out of it. And right now, I think I have this very like freeing perspective where I'm able to like, excuse my language, like shit on a bunch of stuff, because like there's not like, I'm not if you don't believe what I believe, that's fine. You don't have to work with us, and you can go operate your own thing, right? Like there's no one that I need to prove anything to outside of like I've been right a lot about where the future of things is headed, and I've jumped to the next thing as soon as I see that opportunity, and also what's dying within the industries that I have like seen rise and fall. And I think there's so much to be learned by that history. Like you always learn things from history. History is, it always repeats itself, but you can always be on a different side of it. And I think, I like love having this conversation, the one that we're having right now, because I think there's just like a lot to learn from like what has happened in the past and where we're headed. And I don't think a lot of marketers have ever been out of marketing, like in the world of other industries too. Like I was, in digital for such a long time that like I have this outside perspective of like where things sit, that I'm always like really happy to talk about. And I always really like talking about. But I think it doesn't come up enough. But I don't know. I've been in those positions too. And it's like really hard to see outside of like your day, your week, your month, your panic, your, like your anxiety of like where things are. But like there is like a lot of freedom and a lot of like, a lot of freedom, a lot of like light at the end of the tunnel if you're able to just look outside of like what's happening and think about like just human nature, right? Like what are human behavior? Like I've built my career on human behavior, and I try to continue to do that. And I think there's a lot of power in that, and there's a lot of just ability to win when you focus on people.
Love it. Couldn't say it better myself. I'm a strong proponent of asking people from different industries and taking a real hard look at what, not like necessarily touching grass, but like the business version of it. Like go shop somewhere. Go to a manufacturing plant. Those people are not seeing your ads while they're working.
Yeah, totally. Like just talk to people. I think like I don't think the marketers like talk to real people enough, and I think they're in like their little echo chamber of marketers, and they're not like out there speaking to real people, because real people will tell you a lot of really great things, and it shouldn't just be done on like a biannual basis when you're running like a survey. It should be a part of your every single thing that you do every day should involve talking to existing customers, prospect customers, and not begging them to do a case study. Literally just talking to them, understanding their world, right? Like stop putting yourself in the driver's seat of everything that you need, and just try to listen a little bit. I think there's a lot of power in listening.
Love it. I think that if there's something that someone walks away from this entire episode, and let's say they just miss everything, just listen to people. Like just start there. It's entry level stakes that has somehow
listen to people, let them talk, and they will tell you a lot of really wonderful things.
And if they're not talking, be friendlier.
Exactly.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time and your expertise. This has been really exciting to hear about. I love all of it. If people want to get a hold of you, what is the best ways or places for them to look?
Yeah, I live on LinkedIn. So send me a note, send me a DM, send me a comment. I am on LinkedIn 24/7. So very easy to reach.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. This has been a great episode. If anyone wants to get a hold of me, also chronically online on LinkedIn. I can be emailed at info@markigy.com in case you have a question or you want more resources. Thank you.